Good evening, Robert Scribbler. It is September 7th, 2018. Thank you for joining me for another climate change and clean energy video blog. Now for this segment, we're going to focus for the most part on forecasting for Florence, which is now predicted to come very close to the U.S. East Coast for a likely landfall sometime next week, according to forecast models. And some of these hurricane models are spitting out what I would consider to be some rather scary projections. I don't want to sound too alarmist, but there's a lot of warm water, and the atmospherics do seem to be coming into line, and at the very least, it's likely that we're going to have a major hurricane threatening the U.S. East Coast by early to mid next week, with what looks like a rising potential for landfall along the U.S. East Coast. But before I get into that, I'd just like to note that we're looking at not just one, not just two, not just three, but 5 tropical systems right now in the North Atlantic or over the United States. And looking at this National Hurricane Center graphic, you see the remnants of Gordon, a tropical disturbance lurking just off the U.S. East Coast to the west of Bermuda, Florence, which is still well to the south and east of Bermuda, Tropical Depression number 9, which itself could turn into a hurricane and threaten the Caribbean islands, and Tropical Depression 8, which just emerged off the African coast. For this segment, we're going to talk mainly about Florence because the projections for a threat to the U.S. East Coast are there, and the risk of a landfalling impact appears to, at present, be rising. I'd just like to note we're still about 6 days out for Florence, so conditions could change, but there appears to be a lot more certainty. And I'd just like to note this quote from Jim Cantori, who's talking about the Euro models. He says that this is a great way of looking at model trends and how meteorologists' confidence is leaning heavily toward a U.S. landfall next week. So it's worth noting that meteorologists right now have a high confidence that Florence will make landfall. I myself feel very cautious saying that because we're still 6 days out, but the models and the meteorological consensus right now is quite high. I'd like to show you this global forecast system model run from Pivotal Weather. I'm just going to go ahead and run this model, which shows a Florence strengthening steadily as it moves to the south of Bermuda. I'm going to go ahead and pause this model, getting picked up by prevailing winds and then strengthening to about a 940, 950 millibar storm to the, HPA storm to the south and west of Bermuda, which is a strong Category 3, maybe a weak Category 4 storm at this projected time, which would be on Wednesday of next week, Wednesday, September 12th, and then running into the U.S. coast as a strong Category 3, weak Category 4 storm in this model toward the North Carolina coast by Thursday, and then running in along the North Carolina coast. Now, this is a global forecast system model. It's not the only model. And I would just like to show you one of the hurricane models from Tropical Tidbits, which is convective model. It includes convective forecast. I'm going to start the model from the 0 hour, and I'm just going to go ahead and run it through next week. And I just like to note some of these hurricane models are looking a little hairy, a little scary. So again, we have a 940, 950 millibar storm to the south of Bermuda by in this model around Tuesday time frame, and look at the intensity dropping to a 932 HPA storm by late Tuesday, which is a solid Category 4 storm, and then dipping down to 920s by Wednesday and into the 19s. And this forecast is correct. This is a Category 5 storm off the U.S. southeast coast, and I'm not certain that there has ever been, at least in the near-term historical record, a storm this intense in this region of the North Atlantic. Now, it's just worth noting that this is just one model. There's a couple of models that are showing Florence at this intensity. This is 916 HPA storm is an extraordinarily powerful storm. So definitely something to watch. I know I mentioned sea surface temperatures in my last video blog, but it is worth reiterating that sea surface temperatures in the range of around 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, in some cases 88 degrees Fahrenheit, or 27 to 29 degrees Celsius can support a very powerful storm. And that's what we're seeing off the U.S. East Coast at this time. Some of the hurricane models are indicating the potential for a very strong major hurricane threatening the U.S. East Coast by Wednesday and Thursday of next week, with meteorological consensus building for a U.S. landfall of an intense hurricane. So something to keep an eye on. This looks very concerning to me. I encourage you to keep close watch on this and listen to the reports from the National Hurricane Center and the official reports. Thank you for joining me. I will be chatting with you soon.